Welcome, trailblazers and visionaries, to the Actionera podcast, your ultimate guide to mastering community building, skyrocketing engagement, and boosting your revenue. If you're an author, speaker, coach, expert, or online entrepreneur, this is the show you've been waiting for. Here at Actionera, we've been revolutionizing the content marketing landscape with our cutting-edge platform for membership, courses, events, marketing, and community building. Now, we're thrilled to bring our wealth of knowledge to your ears through this podcast. Each week, we'll delve into the hottest strategies and technologies that are transforming the worlds of community building and entrepreneurship. Get ready for fascinating expert interviews, inspiring success stories, and actionable tips that will catapult your business to new heights. Whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or new to this industry, the Actionera podcast is your one-stop resource to help you create a thriving content marketing system and crush your goals. So buckle up and join us in today's episode as we embark on this exhilarating adventure together.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the fourth episode of Actionera podcast. My name is Iman Argai. I'm the co-founder of Actionera and super excited to be here with you and my amazing business partner, Robert Evans.
Everybody, Robert Evans here. We're actually coming to you from Las Vegas, Nevada. This is the second spot that we've recorded these podcasts, and we're excited to really dive into the topic today.
Absolutely. So today we're going to talk about summits, and we're going to talk about summits from several different points of view. So both Robert and I have a lot of experience with running summits, and also I have a lot of experience creating summits from scratch in a very, very short time, and why we do summits and all of those type of things. So if you are kind of newer in the industry, or you have a lot of good connections and you've been in the industry for some time and you want to leverage those connections really fast, stick around, because there are lots of good things that you can learn here about summits and how successfully do all of these things. Now, a little bit about Actionera. Actionera is an all-in-one technology platform that allows authors, speakers, program leaders have a platform to share their courses, podcasts, summits, gift giveaways, all of those things, as well as build their funnels, websites, mailing lists, and so much more. So during these podcasts, we talk a lot about strategies that entrepreneurs can use to grow their business and expand their reach, but also the foundation of many of these things is the technology. And if you have the right technology, you can do this fast, you can do this effective, and you can get results. So you can focus on what you are best at instead of constantly dealing with all the tech problems and all the other things. So, Robert?
Yeah, so speaking of tech problems when it comes to summits, over the years, as we've worked with and taught summit models to experts, and all the different benefits and the values of that, which we'll actually dive into here today. One of the biggest challenges, there's two challenges that I see with people doing summits. The first challenge is, how do I organize all this content in a way to where people can experience it without me, the summit leader, having to do a massive amount of work and spend, a ton of time, ton of money, either paying someone else to do it, and to pull it all together and put it in one place so that the person at the other end that's experiencing the summit is doing so in a very organized way. And that's one thing. That's one of the reasons why we built a very specific summit module into Actionera to make that part easy, which has been difficult in the past for a lot of leaders. The second thing is that I've seen a problem with summits is that when someone does do a summit, that's usually it. Those videos might exist on YouTube, or they might throw them on their webpage or whatever, and they're not really leveraging and using and repurposing that content, which is gold for anybody to have that content, for it to continue to work for you, building a list, generating income, and giving value to the people that have been a part of the summit.
Yeah, and I think actually let's kind of step back a little bit and talk about what summits are. Because I think sometimes there is a chance that there are some people that are listening to this podcast and are wondering what summits are, or have a different definition of summits. And I want to tell you a story that would give a little bit different perspective of how summits were created and why they were created, and then how they came online. Because a lot of times, Robert, actually, I have this, not I have, but like we see this challenge with newer online marketers that they don't have any background of marketing before internet, or if internet existed, still marketing anything offline. So they see a concept that has been happening online, and without understanding the core of how this concept was created, they try to adjust that model online, and they totally screw it up, like totally. And I believe summits is one of those things. So I'll tell you a little bit of a story about not very long time ago, right? Maybe 2010, actually. But I mean, at that time, we had online summits and we had in-person summits. But I want to tell you about an in-person summit that I ran in 2010. And that kind of puts a little bit of perspective around the reason of the existence of summits and how it impacts and affects a lot of things, right? So I go actually a little bit before 2010. I'll go to 2009. So 2009, 5th of March, 2009, I landed in Vancouver, BC from Iran, where I'm originally from. I couldn't speak English properly, didn't have any family or friends or network or connections. And my dream was to become an international professional public speaker. I was looking at people like Tony Robbins, Brian Tracy, Oprah. I was thinking, I want to be one of them. I want to become like them. I want to stand on the stage and change people's lives. I know that many people that are listening to this are looking at people like that and are like, I want to do that, right? Well, that was my dream back in 2009 when I landed in Vancouver, BC. And because I lacked the ability of speaking English properly and had no connections and relationships, it was a really, really hard time for me to find any stages. And in 2010, I learned English a little bit. I could speak English properly, but still didn't have any connections, relationships, network. And I wanted to get myself on stages, and nobody would give me a stage. So what I did, I started a group, and that group was called Vancouver Business Network, which later on, years later, turned into Entrepreneurs International Network. And I started inviting one speaker at a time every week to come to Vancouver Business Network. These were in-person events. And I was going to coffee shops and restaurants and, financial places. And I was like, hey, can I use this place for free? I would bring a speaker and then we would market this. I would bring 30, 40, 50 people for free to this event. And then at this event, the speaker would speak and then would sell anything or not, didn't matter. And then we would give value, right? And then in return, I would ask them, can you put me on your stage? So most of these speakers had their own stage time. So I would ask them, can you put me on your stage? And that's how I started earning stages at other people's events and venues and other things, right? Now, about 6 months later, after we did many of these one-off events, I said, now I want to do a summit. So we had the one-off events where I was trading stage with other people. But then I said, what if I run a summit? So I went back to the last 6 months of all the talks that we had at Vancouver Business Network. And I found the most qualified speakers who had attracted either the most number of people or who had the highest rated talks. And got in touch with them. And I said, if I rent a big venue, would you help me promote this event? And I'll pay you some affiliate fees for promotion of this event. And I'll allow you to come to that event and promote yourself and talk. But it's very important that you bring at least 10 people to this event or even more. And for every person that you bring to this event, I'll pay you some affiliate fees. So 9 of these speakers accepted to promote this 2-day event called Marketing Mastery Summit. And each of them went to their own mailing lists, connections, relationship, family, friends, and said, I'm speaking at this big event at a rented Vancouver Convention Center. So we had the Vancouver Convention Center, 9 speakers, every single one promoted it. Every single person at least got 10 attendees. Some got more, some got like 30, 40, 50. All of them sold tickets for anywhere from $97 to $497, right? They get a percentage of that sale, and then we got to the event. So every single person who was speaking at that event was being promoted to everybody else that the rest of the speaker brought. Now, here's one thing. I did not need to reciprocate with anyone for their promotion. Why? Because if you brought 20 people to my event, I put you in front of 250 people. But I didn't have these 250 people in connections. The other 8 speakers brought the 250 connections. So as the host, I had a 250 attendee event without actually promoting it myself. And when that happened, I was like, wait a second. I just ran this event, and although I hosted this, but I actually didn't bring the majority of the people to this event. The majority of the people came from all these other speakers. And everybody talked, everybody benefited, everybody got value from it. And then I took that concept and brought it online. Now, I wasn't the first person that did this online. I think many, many years before me, Alex Mandossian, back in 2004, 2005, created the online version of summits. Now, back then were telesummits and blah, blah, blah. Summits are summits. Doesn't matter the technology, really. It can be telesummits, video summits, webinar summits, whatever you want to call them, right? But the core purpose of them is you are getting all the other speakers, promoting it to their list. So when they show up, they're talking in front of everybody else's audience.
Yeah.
And that's the key to building a very high quality mailing list. Why high quality mailing list? Here's why. The majority of the mailing list strategies, mailing list building strategies that we have, you have to spend a lot of money to build that list. If you're running Facebook ads, you're running YouTube ads, you're running TikTok ads, you are spending money on the ad. But with summits, you don't spend a dime on any of those things because each one of the speakers is supposed to bring the audience to this event. And although the audience are signing up for the summit for free, but with signing up to the summit for free, they get access to certain things, but they can upgrade to a VIP ticket. And then the VIP ticket will give them access to the recording, will give them access to transcripts, will give them access to show notes and lots of other things, which will be very beneficial to the attendee. And also, in return for you, generates you income. So with summits, you're also building your mailing list and making money, as opposed to other strategies, you're spending money to build that mailing list. Now, think about it. You have a 5-day summit, 40 speakers. And these people are attending your summit. So you have 2,000 people registered, right? You have like 100 of them, 80 of them are showing up for every single one of the speakers. So 40 speakers, and you have 70, 80, 100 of them there live. You're building this much relationship and connection with every single one of these attendees So this creates a very high quality mailing list because they have a relationship with you.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing because you said something that's key there, and it also kind of brings me to my first in-person live summit that I ever did. Kind of followed along another model that's also replicated and done online. So the very first summit I did in person was back in 2012, and it was called the Messenger Summit. And the Messenger Summit was in San Diego, and I was able to. I like to do things big, you know me. I had 127 speakers speak at this 5-day event in 3 different rooms over the period of 5 days. Now, what's interesting about it, there's 2 things that was great that came out of this. One is we went with a model of this. Most of the speakers, we had some big speakers that came, and well-known speakers in personal development and spirituality and that sort of thing. They came, and just because of relationships, I didn't have to pay for that, which is very unusual nowadays, right? But the other speakers actually paid to be on stage. And the reason why they paid to be on stage is because we recorded all 127 talks. And we said, look, we're going to put you in front of this audience that's in the room, which, be at least 100 or so people in the room because of, everybody was going to bring, at least one person. And plus there's 100 speakers. So it was a lot more than 100 people in the room. But we're also going to put this recording and we're going to put it out to the world and put you in front of more people. So, and that's, kind of the model of what people, so they paid money. They paid us $1,000 to be on stage, to be associated, and have some credibility, their name in the spotlight with some of these big, well-known people. And then to have that recording and that message being shared on an ongoing basis. And we pulled it off. It was quite stressful, 127 speakers. But what you said was very valuable, and I want everybody to really hear this, is that as a result of me, doing something this big, the word spread, and the people that wanted to be a part of this summit, and some of these people had relationships and connections. And as a result of that summit, and it being, people kind of saying, you guys hear about the Messenger Summit, there's 127 speakers. It's like, it was a big deal back then. I was invited to the home of Deepak Chopra to go to a charity party there to meet a whole bunch of people. So I met Mark Victor Hansen, I met Deepak Chopra, I met, a whole list of people, all because I did this summit. And it wasn't because people knew who Robert Evans was. It was because, the relationships that came from the summit built that opportunity. And that's still happens today.
Wow. So you mean you're cool? Or you hang out with cool people?
I hang out with cool people. Yeah.
Well, okay. So here's the thing. Now, over time, of course, we have online marketers who haven't done this before online marketing or in offline world, and they see something and they forget the core reason of why something happens. So I have seen several summits these days that they go to speakers and they say, anyone can speak at my summit if you pay us money. And they charge you, I don't know, like $200, $100, $147. I don't know how much, right? They charge you something. And they say, if you bring 20 people, 20 up to my summit, then I'll pay you your $200 back. Okay. Well, there's a problem with that. The problem with it is that the core reason of doing summits is that if I want to be speaker of a summit, I am promoting it because I want everybody else to promote it. So if you charge people and say you can speak at this summit, even if you don't promote it, but you want to have 200 people or 20 people to get your $200 back, well, what you're allowing people to do is speak and be part of this without promoting it. But if I'm promoting it, you are getting paid, but I'm not getting the audience that I was promised. So,
yeah. And that's interesting that you say that, because anytime I'm approached with a summit that has that model, I say no.
Same with me.
Because I know that it's not going to be a good summit because it's a whole different energy to it.
Absolutely, same with me. Like for me, I have a very simple rule. If you are a summit organizer and you are very tough around the rules of who can speak in your summit, what's the size of their mailing list, how often or how many times they should promote your summit, and you keep people accountable that if they are not promoting it, they cannot speak at your summit, and you are going to find another person who will promote and get the number that they are supposed to get there, then I may consider speaking at your summit. However, if you come to me and say, there is no minimum number of people probably on your mailing list to speak here, you can just pay and speak, I say, thank you very much for the opportunity, but I'm not interested. Why? Because I want everyone to promote this very, 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 very hard, or it's not worth my time to be part of it, and it's not worth anybody else's time to be a part of it. So here is where summits start getting a bad rap. They start getting a bad rap because everybody say, I spoke at this summit and nobody was on the call. Well, no shit. Nobody was on the call because they allowed everybody to come and speak in the summit. And the way that the model worked was to make sure that the host gets paid. Well, sure, the host got paid, but that doesn't help me. So it was really good for the host, and yet it was not good for the host. And listen to me why. Summits are a mailing list building strategy, not an income generation strategy. What does that mean? There are several strategies that are mailing list building strategies: gift giveaways, bundles, and summits. These three strategies are the strategies that are really good for people that are beginning or people that have been in the market for some time and have really good connections. So either you're beginning from scratch, you can use summit model, or you built a lot of relationships and now you want to leverage these relationships to go to a higher level, right? So that's the time that you can use this strategy. Like some strategy is perfect for that time. Okay. Same with bundles, same with gift giveaways. But the purpose of a summit is not for you to generate money. The purpose of the summit is for you to build a list. And immediately after the summit, you use an income generation strategy. What's an income generation strategy? Income generation strategy is a strategy such as doing a challenge. But I mean, we have challenges that are mailing list building strategy, and we have challenges that are income generation strategy. So I'll go with proper challenges that are income generation strategy. Or you go with a product launch formula. It's called PLF, done by Jeff Walker. If you have not read the book Launch, I highly recommend you to read that book. Or you are doing something called a webinar launch or webinar series, or at least a webinar to that mailing list. So here is how it works. You do a summit this week. That expands your mailing list. You have 2,000, 3,000, 5,000, 10,000 people on your mailing list. The week after the summit, you run a product launch to your mailing list that you just built, or you do 2-3 webinars to that mailing list. So here is what happens. You have a webinar, you can't find people to promote the webinar. Well, what do? You don't have a mailing list, then you can't reciprocate with people. What do? You go to a summit. You go to a summit, you choose, like you say, I'm going to do my summit over 2 days. I'm going to have 8 speakers every day. It's your choice. How many days and how many speakers a day and how long is the speaker? All of it is your choice. Mine is 5 days, 8 speakers a day to 12 speakers a day. So that means 40 to 60 speakers over a 5-day period. Okay. Then all these speakers are going to promote this summit. So how come they didn't promote your webinar, but they did promote your summit? Here's why. Because within the summit, there is a natural reciprocation built in. Because you promote the summit, you speak at the summit. Perfect. We're good to go. But if you promote my webinar, I have to reciprocate with you promoting my webinar. And if I have 0 people on my mailing list, I can't do that. But if I have 0 people on my mailing list and I'm hosting a summit, it doesn't matter. Why? Because you have a mailing list, the other person has a mailing list, the other person has,
It's the collective.
all the speakers have a mailing list.
It's the collective,
All of them will go and sign up to my mailing list as a host. Now I'm building this 2,000 people mailing list. Now pay attention to this. You get 2,000 people on your mailing list. 8% of those 2,000 people pay you $47 to upgrade to a VIP ticket. So you have 2,000 people. You get 160 of them, pay $47. Let's say $50 to make it easy for the math. Now you made $8,000. It's not a lot of money. You're not going to get rich on $8,000. It will barely cover the expenses of the summit. Why? You want to pay 50% affiliate fee. Out of that 8K, that's 4K. The other 4K you spent on the tech and everything else. Well, then why did you do the summit? Here's why. The week after the summit, you run a webinar, 2,000 people on your brand new mailing list. You get 600, 700 of those people sign up for this webinar. 120 of them show up on the webinar at 20% conversion rate. You get 24 sales at $1,000 level. That's $24,000 income that you don't need to pay affiliate fees. If you don't want to, you can. So it will be even better for all the affiliates to promote, but you don't have to. And yet, listen to this. 24 people buy a $1,000 course from you. 6 weeks later, you invite them to your higher end one-on-one working with you. And out of those 24, 5 people pay you $10,000, 5,000 depending on your fees for your one-on-one, right? And you generate another 20K to 80K from that summit, but not directly from the summit, from the list that you built through the summit. So now you have generated, I don't know, $50,000, $100,000 from a summit that was originated 7 weeks ago, 8 weeks ago. Now, why do I say it's really bad for these people that get $200 to allow anyone to speak at your summit? This is why. You get $200 from 40 speakers to speak at your summit. You get $8,000. You think you're good, right? You're not. Here's why. Because now these 40 people don't have the potential to really promote this summit. So all of them collectively end up putting 200 people on your mailing list. Well, 200 people on your mailing list, 8% upgrade to VIP ticket. That's 16 people paying you $47, let's say $50. That's $800. So now you made $8,800. But the week after you do a webinar to 200 people, how many people are going to sign up? Maybe 120. How many of them are going to show up? 20. How many sales you're going to get? 4 at $1,000. How many of those 4 are going to upgrade to one-on-one? None. Maybe 1. Now in total, you made less than 20K.
Yeah. The math just doesn't support doing it and trying to get that money up front. You got to realize that this is all part of a flow in the build of your business. And it's brilliant. And it works over and over and over again.
If you're serious about your criteria of who can speak and who cannot speak, you hold your speakers accountable. So instead of thinking, I am looking for speakers to speak at my summit, you have to think, I am looking for promoters who can also speak.
Yeah.
That mindset shift changes everything.
Yeah. And what's important is you don't want to just trust when they say, I'll get it done. You actually need part of the effort that goes into a summit is the follow-up. It's the communication. Are you mailing? It's on the day that first mailing is going out. You contact every one of your summit leaders and just make sure you're not being annoying. You're keeping them accountable. And that's, I think, one of the things that summit leaders fail to do and then ends up costing them is that they feel like that's too much, but it's not. That's exactly how you run a successful summit. And it doesn't necessarily have to be you. It could be your assistant or whoever that you're working with, but that communication is important. and don't worry about it because that's the commitment that they made to you. And you're just asking them to follow through on that.
Exactly. And now here's the thing. Having the right tools make tremendous difference in the result that you can get from your summits. For example, if you want to run a summit, you want to have a platform that the platform allows you to track affiliates. So you can see how many people clicked on each speaker's link, how many people landed on the landing page, how many people are opting in based on that person. Okay. So that's number one. Number two, you want to make sure that the platform you're using has a summit module built into it where you can showcase all your speakers, all the gifts they're giving, all the other things that they're giving. You can even have booths, like virtual booths for those speakers to give information related to all of those things. But if you're using a proper all-in-one platform, that all-in-one platform can also handle all the emails that are supposed to go out, can handle also the landing pages and the upgrade page and checkout page and all of those things. So you don't need to Frankenstein all your entire tech with like using this tool and that tool and that tool and all of them. You actually use one platform that can handle all of these things in the same place. But there's also an extra piece. That extra piece is within Actionera. So within Actionera, of course, Actionera does all of these things. That's why we are talking about this. And also it's a good thing for you to do anyways. But one of the most amazing features that Actionera has in its marketing platform is its automations. And one of the creative automation series that you can create is when a speaker says, I want to participate in your summit, you get them to opt in as speaker promoter. And immediately in that automation, you can set emails to go out to remind these speakers that they need to promote and include the emails that they need to send out. But that's pretty normal, by the way. Many other platforms can do that. Maybe not as easily as Actionera does, but still they can. But here is the place that Actionera stands head and shoulder above everybody else. With Actionera, you can also set automatic text messages to go out the day before they're supposed to promote and say, for example, hey, Robert, this is Iman from Course Creation Summit. And I'm wondering if you have set your emails to go out tomorrow. So you emailed Robert 6 a.m., you text messaged him at 10 a.m., and now if Robert responds back, you see it on the platform. You can say, hey, I already sent you an email. Here is the link. So just the tool allows you to do this in much, much simpler way. So instead of spending like 4 hours, 5 hours a day on communication, you're using an automatic tool to help you with all those reminders and the marketing and keep every piece of that communication in one place. Now, when it comes to the summit day, by using your branded mobile app that comes with Actionera Business Plus account, you can send push notifications for either the entire summit, depending on your choice, or for every speaker that's about to speak. And now, instead of having 70 people showing up, you're getting 700 people showing up because push notifications have 16 times higher engagement than emails, at least at the time that we're recording this podcast.
Yeah, exactly. And let's look at that. Why? Why is that? Well, when it comes to people taking in content, receiving content, 65% of smartphone users, which by the way is 7 billion people on this planet today, prefer to access their content on their phones. So, and you think about that, here's the power of it. Everybody has their phone with them. They don't have their laptops with them. They don't have their desktops with them. So, and people have very busy lives. And the reason why push notifications has such a high engagement in the idea of a summit is to get as many people's eyeballs on those talks as they come out. Think about if I'm out and I'm getting an oil change and I forget that I've signed up for the summit and my phone pings me with a push notification or a text message or both that says, hey, Monagai is about to go live where he's going to talk about how to make money with course creation. I can right then and there tap that notification. It pulls up that app, your app, and it gives me access to that content. And that's the power. It's the power of access. It's the power of reach. And it's the power of making it easy for people to be able to experience everything that they have to offer. And then, of course, if they can't do something right then and there and they have that notification on their phone, then it's an easy thing for them to go back and watch the recording of that as long as they have access to the recording. And the way Actionera is set up is that you can give access to people for a period of time that have signed up for the summit, and it's, that didn't pay anything, which is usually one of the options. And then when the summit ends, that free access goes away, and the people that have VIP access can then continue to access those videos. Because if you get, Mon is legendary for 40 or 50 people on a summit, and not everybody can watch 40 or 50 videos, but they will later on and still get ongoing value because of the access that VIP gives to them. And that's all built into the platform, where a lot of people have had to do that on their own, had to figure out how to organize it, how to figure out how to deliver it. It's all very easy within the Actionera infrastructure.
Absolutely. So again, this is very important that you make sure that you have the right tools in your business that can help you and support you with all different types of strategies and help you to do many different things. Summits, gift giveaways, building your website, your blog, your email list, your text message system, and everything. As long as all of these can actually be under the same umbrella, it will make your life 10 times easier. So if you haven't signed up for your free Actionera account, you can definitely go ahead and sign up for a free Actionera account. You should be able to find a link to sign up for a free Actionera account somewhere on the page, and you can just take it for a test drive and see, how it works, and come to the community and get our support and everything else to show you actually how an amazing tool can transform your business. And if you haven't downloaded the Actionera app on your cell phone, make sure that you go to App Store or Google Play and download Actionera app. Download the Actionera app. You can get access to this podcast. You will also get access to a lot of other pieces of training that we have for you on our app in Actionera.
Yeah, in fact, one of the recent trainings that we did was on how to specifically build and run a summit in using your Actionera app. And it was a great detailed summit. So that's part of what you get from being a part of the Actionera world, is not just the technology that does it all, that makes it easy, that gives you access to people, but you get the training, the support, and the community to do it. Now, one last thing, this is huge, is how do you get summit experts? How do you get people to actually to join your summit? Well, within Actionera, we have a community called JV Insider Circle. And when you're an Actionera member, you have a branded Actionera app, or you're using one of our plans, you get access to over 600 potential JV partners who are looking to be on summits. And it's also a place where you can post your summit to, or look for summits that you can be on too. So Actionera is not just a technology, it's a training company, and it's a community of hundreds of people that are looking to collaborate and work with each other to help each other share their message and be successful in their business. So that's all part of the Actionera world.
So just make sure that you go below and sign up for a free Actionera account. We look forward to seeing you in the community.
Thanks, everybody.
And there you have it, folks. Another power-packed episode of the Actionera podcast comes to a close. We're so glad you could join us today. Don't forget to swing by our website, actionera.com, where you can set up a free Actionera account and subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, Spotify, or via RSS, ensuring you never miss a beat. If you found value in today's show, we'd be over the moon if you could rate us on iTunes or simply spread the word to a friend. Looking for more? Download the Actionera app by going to actionera.com and scanning the QR code. You won't want to miss it. Stay tuned for next week's episode, where we'll continue to provide insights and inspiration to fuel your entrepreneurial journey. Until then, keep making a difference, and we'll see you on the next Actionera podcast.